Today, I want to talk about the fundamental building blocks that I personally call the four cornerstones of personal finance. I know navigating the financial jungle and solidifying a plan for ourselves can be tough, and so I thought I'll make some videos to hopefully make this a little easier for some of you. Some of this stuff might be, might be things that you've already heard, and some of it might be new, and people of all levels can definitely jump in. um, with language that we don't always understand and thousands of websites out there. Sometimes it's tough to get answers that we really look for. And so I would just want to condense what's really important in finance and what I've learned over the years into one video. There's more to come, but this is the first of many. I personally think that financial literacy is something everyone should take part of, and therefore I'm creating these videos. So let's get started. Every building starts with a solid foundation, and that's how I think about finance. Basically, that's why it's called the four building blocks. Imagine that this is a foundation that you're starting with, and in each corner you have a different kind of element that's important to create that full picture, to create that solid base of a house, a building, something like that. So the first thing is budgeting. I know that's not something that everybody is excited about, but I think it can help a lot, and we'll go into each of these four in detail, but budgeting is very important. We have managing debt. So you basically want to always make sure that you're, not overspending, basically spending more than you're making. And then we're going into saving and investing. Those, in my opinion, are the four building blocks, the four cornerstones that if you perfect them and if you have literacy in them, I think you can really change your financial outlook, financial independence, and eventually, solidify your financial future and security. So let's get into each one of these. When it comes to budgeting, here are a few things that are important about budgeting and why I think that everybody should create a budget. And in other videos, I'll go into each of these four, show you how you can create a budget, what you can do to start saving, and so on and so forth. The number one rule of personal finance is spending less than you make. And this sounds like a very obvious thing, but a lot of us tend to use credit cards to overspend. And so I think this is really important. Getting that under control, and your budget will show you where you're spending the most amount. And I'm not saying, save $50 a month on coffee if coffee is very important to you and going to Starbucks and it keeps you motivated. I think keep doing that, but spend on the stuff that is not important to, cut spending on the stuff that's not important to you and spend on stuff that is. Budgeting also helps you to show what you're spending most of your money on. So that's the next point. It's basically, if you're spending a lot on Amazon and it shows on the top of your budget, if you basically filter by highest spend every month, that's a huge one. You could basically be spending $500 a month on Amazon and not even realize it, and cutting that to half or just $100 for just the essentials could make a big difference. I personally definitely used to do that after creating a budget. I was actually able to take $500 to $1,000 a month out that I just spent on stuff I didn't need. And that goes without saying, it keeps you from overspending, kind of ties into the first two. It also makes sure that you're on track with saving for the future. So basically, if you're now having that extra 500, 100, $1,000, something like that every month, you're able to use that and actually save, which ties into one of the other four building blocks. So they all tie in, and that's why I kind of think those four are very important to think about. An emergency fund, is something that you're only able to create if you have money left every month. If you can put 50, 100, $500 away every month to put that into an emergency fund, that is where budgeting comes in, because if you are spending more than you're making, you'll probably be in credit card debt, and it's tough to put that kind of money aside. And we'll talk about an emergency fund more. It's usually 3 to 6 months of expenses, but like I said, I will make more videos on each of these four cornerstones. And yeah, the first step in gaining control of your financial life, the moment you're kind of seeing how much you're spending every month and you're realizing where you're overspending, where you could save, it's actually getting kind of fun once you cut out some of this spending to see how much more you're able to save and how much more control you have. And then the last point here, it makes it easier to plan and save for retirement. You know, eventually everybody has to think about retirement and having some extra money that we're not having to basically live paycheck to paycheck. And, if you don't want to work forever, then putting money aside, investing and saving as early as possible is definitely the key. Now let's go to our next one, managing debt. Like I said, they all tie in with each other, but if we don't manage debt, it's basically going to eat away at that savings rate every month, at that investment rate that we could use, money for. So basically, it's vital for long-term financial security. If you're constantly having a 20-30% interest rate on your credit card eating away at your net worth or at your finances, that is not going to help you get ahead. High interest debt can eat away your savings slash investment potential. I've kind of mentioned that already, but basically, it speaks for itself. Every month that you're putting money towards interest on a credit card is money that you're not saving or investing. It also helps improve your credit score. So this is also very important. I mean, your credit score is tied to how many credit cards and other debts you have and stuff like that. And we'll get into credit deeper. This is basically just overall making you understand that your credit score will go up the less debt you have. And yeah, like I said, credit card interest rates are between 20 and 30%. They're some of the highest that you can take on. It's considered bad debt. It's definitely not helping you at all. And a lot of people actually just pay the minimum every month, which then, doesn't help them pay it down. So once again, we'll get into managing debt in a different video more deeply. But this is an overview of all of the things that I believe go into finance. It's personal finance. And so we're getting to saving here now. Everybody knows saving is important, everybody talks about it, but actually doing it is another story. So, it helps build that emergency fund that I was mentioning. You feel way better if you have $5,000, $10,000 in an emergency fund, let's say a high yield account. So, it also grows with a little bit of interest that you're given. So, you're not having to live paycheck by paycheck, and when your car breaks down or you're laid off from a job or something, you're not completely in a horrible position. You're actually able to say, okay, look, I have 3 to 6 months of expenses to look for a new job. I can actually pay this $2,000 car repairment or whatever it might be. And that's what saving really helps with. It builds a financial confidence and stability. So, like I said, the moment you have your first thousand put away, the moment you don't live paycheck to paycheck anymore and you have 5 to 10 grand saved, maybe even 50 grand saved, whatever it is, like I said, this is a different goal for everybody. It feels good. You are all of a sudden waking up and feeling like that, little room to breathe. A little more room to breathe there when you have a little bit of a cushion. Uh, it helps avoid using bad debt. So when we were talking about credit card debt, you don't really have to use your credit card for your car when it breaks down if you have that money put aside. And a lot of times, when people put something like this on a credit card, they're not immediately paying it off within 30 days. So that accrues interest once again. So basically paying with savings for these emergencies is way better than using your credit card for them. You create a better retirement with savings. That's another clear one right here. It also ties in with the investment part, but saving money and having that nest egg and being able to kind of take cash, that's called liquidity. You can basically use that cash for anything that you need right away. You don't have to sell anything like your house or other assets. You just have that ready to go. And especially in retirement, Social Security is only so much. So having some savings and investments is actually going to help you a lot there. It also helps to meet life's goals. travel, kids' college fund, buying a house. These are bigger things, but at the end of the day, we all eventually do one or two of them. We eventually want to buy a house. We definitely want to travel. Some people that have kids will, pay for college. There's always going to be something that you want to pay for that you don't want to use your credit card for, that you want to use those savings for. Now let's get to investing. This is, in my opinion, the most exciting point, and that's how you grow your money the quickest, or the best way, in my opinion. In a high yield savings account nowadays, as of the recording of this video, you might get around 4% interest. With investing, the average in the S&P 500 over the last years has been about 8%. I think you know you can even get more some years, of course, but let's just take a very conservative average of about 8% a month. And so that definitely helps against inflation, and we'll get into these points right now. It grows your money beyond inflation. If inflation is about 2 to 4%, let's just say on average 2.5%, then your money is just basically growing a little bit in a high yield savings. But with investing, you're able to take that further. It can be a great way to build wealth. So eventually, or everybody has probably heard about compound interest. Eventually, one year you might be earning or gaining $1,000, but eventually that might turn into $5,000 a year because of that compound interest. So eventually, this is something that can work just as hard or harder than you at your job. And as we get older, it's not as easy to do the job as it is when we're younger. And so thinking into the future, even just while you're planning, I'm really into this, so I always, kind of plan for the future, and really I'm passionate about this. But even if you're not, just taking that half an hour a month to go over your finances, looking at your budget, can really set you up for success in the future. It has the potential of replacing your job income. I just also, talked about that. It's at the end of the day, when you're retiring and social security isn't enough, what are you going to do when you're not working? And so investments can come in there. And basically, that's my next point here. Is a lot of people use 401ks, which are employer sponsored retirement accounts, or IRAs, to retire. And basically, this can compensate for not having a job and social security potentially not being enough. That's actually where I want to end up today. And, please let me know in the comments if there's any questions. I will obviously make videos that go deeper into each of these 4 points, so we can talk about what kind of accounts you can use to save, what kind of brokerage accounts you can use to invest, and creating a budget together, as well as managing debt. Which card should you pay off first? How do I get rid of debt? And so, but for now, this should help everybody to kind of get a bird's eye view. And like I said, we'll get into more deeper topics in a later video.